So if you want to be at peace, be poor in spirit, be somebody who mourns, be meek. But then Jesus went on to say, if you really want a life of joy, he said, joyful or blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. The attitude here is one where you hunger and thirst. And you are not hungering and thirsting for worldly goods, for wealth. You are hungering and thirsting for living right with God. You are desperate. You use the term hunger and thirst. It shows you are really desperate. It's like you are at a place where you are so hungry and so thirsty. Unless you get water within a very short time, you are going to die. That's a picture of somebody who is hungering and thirsting for righteousness. And he's promising that be your condition. He himself will fill you. That's how you end up in joy and satisfaction. And so you need to ask yourself, is that your attitude? An attitude of being desperate for righteousness, desperate for living right, desperate for pleasing God, desperate for living right. Is that really your condition, your attitude to life? That's what will bring you joy. Happy or blessed are people who hunger and thirst. You know, the spirit of arrival is a dangerous spirit. It is the same spirit we call the spirit of entitlement. And once you have entitlement, there are several consequences. Number one, when you feel entitled in relationship with God, you do not thank Him. After all, you are your child. He should be doing things. How come He has not done this and that for me? How come He has not healed me? How come it's the spirit of entitlement and the spirit of bitterness? You'll be you'll be sick in a hospital bed, but that will not be your only problem. You'll be bitter against God because you have the spirit of entitlement. You are not, you don't feel, you don't feel like you have not yet achieved the right to be given anything by God, or the right to get anything from your parents, or the right to get anything from your boss, or the right to get anything from your spouse. The spirit of hunger and thirst is the opposite of entitlement. And especially as you deal with God, that spirit of entitlement to feel I'm okay. Somebody who once stood in a church where I was and said, God must be lucky to have me. You know who I am? You know, the kind of life I've lived. I deal with who is who in this country. And now have come to Jesus. He is lucky to have me. That's the opposite of meekness. So this spirit of entitlement, that I'm feeling I'm desperate for to achieve what I am not able to achieve without God's help. The spirit of entitlement is that I've already done. You compare yourself with others and you feel surely who in this church is at my level. When it comes to tithing, like when we were constructing that church, I'm one person in a church of 1,000 people, but I'm the one who gave 10% of the funds that were used to build the church. God, are you not lucky to have me? And how come you're not treating me like I'm your child, like the things I have done matter to you? My friend, that's a life that will steal your joy. Because rest assured, entitlement, an entitled life is a life of frustration. Why? You know, the people who see you know the truth, but you don't. Here you are feeling entitled before God because in 95% of ways you are behaving right. But 5% you are not behaving right. Even if you are righteous in 95%, this 5% cannot allow you into heaven. When you just look at what you have done and forget about what you have not done, or the things you have done that don't please God, you are cheating yourself. No wonder you are not thirsty and hungry for righteousness. So that spirit of entitlement is the one that will make you finally lose heaven and earth. But the Bible is saying, blessed are those who hunger and thirst. Happy are those who hunger and thirst. What are they thirsting about? For living right, righteousness. If that is the attitude, they will certainly be blessed because God will fill them in their area of thirst, in their area of hunger. But once you have entitlement, anybody you deal with, like I said earlier, you don't feel like you owe him thanks. Somebody gives you a cup of tea, given how much I've done for you already, you should. What else do I expect? I expect you to give me tea. The other person feels exploited, and within no time, he starts avoiding you. He avoids you, and you wonder, how can he avoid me? Who else is my level? Doesn't he count himself privileged that he can be my friend? He doesn't, and he runs from you. Within no time, you are all alone. Nobody's interested in your many accolades, and you start losing your joy. What about the other way around, where you don't feel like you desire anything. You don't deserve anything because you are not up there. You have not been lived a life that is totally pleasing to God. You are thirsting, hungry, despite that there are many things you have done right, but there are few you have not done right, and you feel desperate to please the Lord. So, hungering and thirsting, you might think then that the people who have nothing to eat and no water to drink are the ones that are happy. No, 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 no. That's a bad condition. That's why Jesus is clear. He doesn't talk about people who have nothing to eat and have nothing to drink. Talks about an attitude of desperately seeking righteousness or living right or living in a way that pleases God so desperately that it's a pursuit of your life. And if that is what you're pursuing, he says he will give you joy, he will give you blessedness, he will fill you. And so that's what we really are talking about if we are talking about uh, seeking a life of joy. What are signs of somebody who is hungry and thirsts for righteousness? I think number one, he is going to be somebody who sets time daily to have a meeting with God. We normally call it a quiet time. Why do we call it quiet? Because you sit before God, bare, admitting your failures to Him, seeking His forgiveness, seeking His help, admitting that there are few areas you are struggling and you need His help for you to live a life that will honor Him. When that's what you are doing, then you are thirsting. You allocate time, a specific time each day when you want God to search you. Like the psalmist says in Psalm 139, search me, O God. Show me that my true self, that I may live a life that honors you. Also, to live a life of righteousness, it will mean that you live a life saturated with God's word, saturated with God's requirements, saturated with what does God want with my life. There's no decision you make without seeking Him. I think it's Paul who says in Philip in First Corinthians, he's talking about the Spirit, and also in Galatians 5:22. It is walking in step with the Spirit. That's what we mean by hunger, thirsting and hungering for righteousness. You are seeking to walk in step with the Spirit. So you therefore don't make any decision on face value, on what looks good. You want God to guide you. And you know you don't know the future, only He knows. So you are desperate to be in good books with Him who knows the end with starting at the beginning. So, and you are so desperate, we describe you as hungering, thirsting in order to live right with God. So if you're at that level where you don't have self-confidence, instead you have God confidence, you therefore cannot make a decision without consulting God, then we say you actually are in an attitude of hungering and thirsting for righteousness. What will happen? He promises He will fill you. You will live a life of joy because He acknowledges your need of Him. So, what have we learned about this beatitude of thirsting, hungering for righteousness? That it is the opposite of being entitled. It's the opposite of the spirit of arrival. I've reached. I'm okay now. I'm a Christian. God is my friend. What can He do for me? It's the opposite of that. It's the opposite of feeling I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian for many years, but I've not yet reached where God would want me to be. I may be 99, okay, but there's a 1% I'm struggling with. I need God's help. That is the spirit of hungering, the spirit of thirsting for right living with God. And you have learned that for that to happen, you must spend specific time when you allow the light of Christ to light up the weak areas, the areas you have not met the standard. And when that happens, you admit it and desperately cry to God to actually help you to live a better life. That day we have learned that if you are thirsting for righteousness, you will seek to walk in step with the Lord because you do not have self-confidence to make decisions without consulting Him. Instead, you have God confidence that what God guides will always work right. So you want His guidance. You want His direction. That's what will give you joy.